Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We've got a 10-game slate here on Wednesday night for you guys in the NBA. In this one, we are looking to pick on the struggling Toronto Raptors against the best team in the NBA right now with the hottest win streak, the New York Knickerbockers, at least the longest win streak. Let's just give them that. Taking a look at this one, also got the season Pacers for you and our player props, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page on this giant slate tonight. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys all season long, and our odds finder tool. You can use that to go ahead and make sure you're getting the best juice back on all these bets. Shop those lines against these U.S. sports books. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 10-game slate and then talk about the Knickerbockers and the Raptors.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, producer Dan. We're going to pick on your Toronto home team, and Josh is going to talk about his Knicks, I guess, as your last episode here before a little bit of a break. But yeah, we got a nice slate here on Wednesday. We got Bucks +2 at Cleveland. That's going to be a good game to check out for sure. The Pistons are +11 at the Sixers, who have gotten on track. The Warriors, not on track, way off track, are +12.5 at Brooklyn after getting smoked by these Knicks. The Bulls on a back-to-back +6 at Atlanta. I kind of trust them to cover that, though. We're going to get to this game. Raptors are +2 at the Knicks. It opened at just +1. Totals rising a little bit. The other game we break down, Pacers are +10 in Boston. Totals up to 233 there. Blazers are -4 at Thunder. Magic and a pick'em at Houston. Mavs are -3 at Minnesota after getting smoked in their last one there. Lakers +6 at the Kings without AD. Totals all the way at 240 there. And then the Hornets +8.5 at the Clippers, who are well rested at not having played in 4 days now. So, I mean, Knicks are on a back-to-back, yes, but they also coasted to a win over the Warriors last night with their main three guys, Jalen, RJ, and Julius, playing 30 minutes or a little bit less. So, and even in back-to-back situations where they were in a little bit of a closer game, I mean, none of them have been particularly close recently. They got smoked by the Mavs, came back and held the Cavs to 81 points to really start this 8-game win streak. That was on a back-to-back. They destroyed the Pistons and then almost beat the Bucks, wound up losing by 6 on some late free throws. That was a push against the spread, but I mean, I consider that a win, moral victory, if you will. The Suns pulled away at home, and then on a back-to-back, Knicks bounced back with a win over OKC, and then out west they beat Utah and Denver Nuggets without Jokic and a road back-to-back. So they're now 4-1 straight up when they have a rest disadvantage this year. They're 10-3 straight up when they're favored. They would be favored by much more if this wasn't a back-to-back situation, because Toronto is flailing. I mean, they're like 3-9 straight up when they're underdogs, 1-8 straight up as road dogs, 3-12 straight up on the road regardless. Their only quality win on the road came against Miami in about the 4th game of the season. Other than that, the other 2 wins are against the Spurs and Pistons, teams that are literally not trying to win. Their defense was broken without OG Anunoby the last few games. That's why they've lost 9 of their last 11, the 2 wins coming at home. And then their offense looked broken in their last game against the Sixers. They got to 101 in double overtime, and Pascal Siakam was just the only source of offense. No Gary Trent. He might not be back here either to try and spread the floor, but the Knicks have been elite guarding three-point line. They've been elite guarding the paint during this 8-game span. And the key stats with the Raptors, as always, not giving up many points off turnovers and not giving up many fast break points at all at home on the season. They're giving up the 5th fewest fast break points. So they can defend the Raptors. They've also been able to defend Siakam, who has been the source of offense in his last 4 versus the Knicks. 19 points per game on 33% field goal shooting. And that's a 92 offensive rating. Fred VanVleet has been the one that's been cooking the Knicks, but he's struggling lately. He doesn't seem to be completely healthy, coming off a 3-for-15 outing. And the Knicks have been shutting down point guards lately, allowing the 7th fewest points and assists to that position. OG Anunoby also, only 1 game back after a decent absence here. And it's just mostly that the Raptors, they've just really been bad on the road. They're 0-5 straight up, 1-4 against the spread. Their last 5 road games with a -9 net rating. And free throws are the only source of offense for them. But They have the highest percentage of points off free throws when they're on the road, and the Knicks are allowing the second lowest percentage of points off free throws right now. They're just denying everything, and they seem to have no let up on back-to-backs right now. So they feel very confident about this one. I think best pick on the slate. I think the Knicks are going to do just fine here at home.
Yeah, the Knicks have been doing just fine over the course of their last 8. You want to know if they're playing against good teams. They are. They're beating good teams. They're playing still at their slow New York pace, but they're actually getting a few more points in transition, a few more fast break points, mostly off of turnovers. Not really just out streaking. They're not going to get the ball out of a made basket and go, but they are getting those points off of the turnovers because they've ramped the defense back up, as we've been talking about, as we also call them laying the absolute wood on that Warriors team, like you said they did to me last night. The way that they're doing it is through starting on defense. That's why they have their points off turnovers. They're crashing the boards. That's why they're getting their points off second chance points. The Raptors, as we have been talking about for a while, still need a center. The teams can get those second chance points off of them as much as they would like. They're not really limiting fast break points, despite the fact that they're scoring them so much. They're actually dead last now in terms of limiting their opponent fast break points. Their opponent getting points off of turnovers. They are limiting even in their last 8 where they're 1-7. So it's kind of like fine, but the Knicks have found more ways to score on teams, and that's why you've seen in their last few games that, especially at home, they've at least been able to bring it on offense, just with a 132 that they put on the Dubs at home, the 112 they put on the Kings, 113 on the Hawks. So that 114, 110 to 115-ish range for them is plenty fine now that they have a 90.5 defensive rating over the course of their last 8 games, that they've won all of them, as we said. So I love the home stuff for them. I also, am looking at last night in the back-to-back stuff you talk about. Jalen Brunson played 29 minutes, RJ played 31, and Julius played 28. So fine. They're still fine to play tonight. They obviously didn't have to travel as well. They are 10-7 straight up after they've won this season, and they're covering those spreads by about 3.5 points as well. So there's nothing really to be concerned with there. And it's really going to come down to it. Toronto not being able to score in the ways that they need to be able to score. You need to be able to make threes against this Knicks team at home, where they're also shooting, pretty decent from 3. At least they're making roughly 12 a game, and the 34 attempts is also super low. So it's you need to be able to match what they're doing outside of the 3-point line if you're not gonna be making threes. And the Knicks are just better at what each team is trying to do, whether it's limiting teams in their fast break, scoring from down low, and limiting and getting second chance points. And the Knicks are doing all those things super well, which will be limiting to what Toronto can do without the 3-point line. You mentioned Fred VanVleet, a huge reason for that. He's shooting roughly 2 for 8 this year from behind the arc, 2.5 threes a game on 8 attempts. That's pretty much emblematic of what their team is able to do this season from behind the arc, which is why they're struggling so much on offense. And everything that you see from them in terms of losses is usually around them having 110 points or less. So I'm not really going to attack this total. I know I keep talking about points. I'm just using it as sort of more game theory, where I'm saying if this total is at 217.5, I think the Raptors need to win a game where they score 115 points to really be able to hang with anybody right now. The Knicks are happy to play at a 109 to 100 type of pace and have this thing just be in their control all game. And that would be what I would assume is going to be happening in this one, with Toronto unable to spread the floor the way they are.
Yeah, I would definitely lean under. You looked at the Knicks, they were 1-5 to the under in their last 6 home games before going over, just because they were able to just destroy the Warriors, who can't play any defense on the road. Toronto can play defense right now. As soon as they get OG Anunoby back, they pretty much held the Sixers in check, and that game got to 205 in double overtime again. So I think both these teams will be able to muck it up a bit. And so it's interesting to see the total rise from 216 to 218. I think it's kind of exploitable there to go Knicks parlay with the under as well, because, a lot of the things that these teams do allow, Toronto struggles in terms of assist to field goal ratio, and the Knicks are getting no assists in any way, shape, or form. So there's not necessarily going to be a lot of good half court offense here. I still don't consider the Knicks like world beaters on both ends of the floor. They're giving a full effort on defense, and it's been really good to see night in, night out from them. That's why we're still good about it with the back-to-back. But, I mean, the Raptors have the worst half-court offense in the league, and if they're not getting free throws and they're not getting fast break points, I don't see a lot of points scored here at the Garden.
Yep, 100%. With all of that, I mean, you start to get a little bit nervous. You're like, the Knicks have to lose at some point, and you know the Raptors are a team that is just, it's not the moment for them right now. They're not doing things well, and we keep hearing conversations about, you know, the whispers are the Raptors really just going to blow things up at some point with the way that this roster is constructed. They've been trying to put the pieces together. Injuries have definitely been hurting them this season. There's been a little bit, we've talked about a little bit of the lack of chemistry as well. Just seems like it's a team that's on the downslope in a way that you can take advantage of them while they're coming up against a team that's so heavy on the upslope for the Knicks, and at such a small total, which it actually seems to have gone towards the Raps a little bit here and there. It's fluctuating a smidge, but you know, started about -2. It's about minus 1.5 for the Knicks, depending on where you find it. So stay tuned for all that stuff. You definitely want to be watching these lines as they move up and down a little bit today for the Knicks or the Raptors, but I'm definitely liking the Knicks at such a low spread here. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us on this giant slate tonight. And until we see you next, happy betting.